Sometimes new technological advancements create opportunities for a lens manufacturer to update a lens in really important ways. But what happens when the lens that it's replacing is a legend in its own right? A lens that was already so good and so well loved that you kind of wonder, what do we even need to improve? Especially in a day and age where cameras and lenses just seem to be getting more and more expensive by the day. How does a lens manufacturer justify the extra costs with benefits that may or may not be tangible to the end user? Well, that is the question and challenge I want to try to answer today. And this is a perfect example because this is the Nikkor 24-70 f2.8 version 2. And this new S-series lens is replacing the Nikkor 24-70 f2.8 version 1, a lens that we played with like 6 years ago. And the issue is that was a much loved, I would even say legendary, general purpose professional zoom. A lot of water's flowed under the bridge in those 6 years though. Has enough change to justify this new design? We're gonna find out. I'm Chris Nicolls and this is PetaPixel. So to give some context, this new 24-70 f2.8 version 2 is gonna be about $2,800 right now. That's a big chunk of cash. And so I wanted to know, how much could I feasibly get the first version used nowadays? And it's gonna save me about $1,000. And how I know that is, I'm actually looking right now at Cage.com. You know that we love them for used gear. So right now I can go on the website and I've got probably 14 units here that I can choose from. It gives me really good detailed information. I can see that some are excellent plus, some are basically like new or like new minus. It lists what comes with it, bayonet lens hoods, lens cases, what caps I get. There's also even one that's ugly. It's got front ring damage, but it's only under $1,000. So I've got a lot of different options here based on budget, price, and what kind of condition I want to get it. And I just love the information that I get from Cage.com. And if I do get something and I got buyer's remorse, they have a fantastic return policy. Check out Cage.com. That is why they're PetaPixel's official pre-owned camera gear partner. So I think if we're looking at $1,000 difference here, you know, if you're looking at even trading up for something like this, we got to do a deep dive into what new features we have here and whether it'll be worth it. And the first thing I want to talk about is the handling, because I do feel like there are some really substantial benefits here. So when the first Sony G Master 24-70 f2.8 came out, that was a great example of a lens that was the best they had at the time, but wasn't great optically and was quite bulky and heavy. And when Sony updated that to the second version, I mean, they fixed a lot of issues. They also made the lens incredibly lightweight and small, and I thought that that would be the lightest weight 24-70 we'd ever see, actually until now, because this new Nikkor 24-70 version 2 is the lightest 24-70 mirrorless f2.8 lens now. They were able to drop this down about 130 grams. It's sitting around that 675 gram mark, and that is very impressive. They've also made this a little bit smaller than the original Nikon lens. That had an 82 millimeter filter thread diameter, but this now goes down to 77 millimeters. In fact, I especially appreciate that lighter weight on something like the Nikkon Z8, which is, to be fair, a bit of a heavier mirrorless camera body. This lens balance is really nice. All the weight comes to the back. I barely feel it in the front here, and so it feels very stable to shoot with. There's other nice improvements as well. So finally now we have a hood with a cutout for polarizers. That's something that a lot of users have been asking for a long time with Nikkor zooms. So we got that there. We've got a nice manual focus ring in the front, zoom ring in the back here, customizable buttons, and we do have a customizable control ring as well. You do have the option to set this for either click stop or smooth functionality, and you can customize this ring to do a whole bunch of different features, you know, exposure compensation, ISO, aperture, whatever you want. Otherwise, we've got an autofocus manual focus selector switch here, and we do now also have an autofocus limiter switch here. And this is really cool because with the new firmware, you can customize this in the Nikon Z8 body, so you can limit the range here to speed up your autofocus experience even more so at a specific distance. Last thing I want to mention here is a really big change. This is now an internally zooming lens, which means as I zoom the ring here, nothing in the front changes. And that's really nice, not only from a point of balance perspective, where videographers will really appreciate this on a gimbal, be able to zoom the lens and have an almost negligible change in balance, but it's also nice from just like a ruggedness standpoint, because I don't have an exposed barrel that's moving in and out with the helicoid with the possibility to get dust and stuff in there. And of course, being a professional S-series lens, this is fully weather sealed. So as I've already stated, the original 24-70 f2.8 was a legendary lens, but it did have one major issue, and that was relatively slow focusing speeds. And in a general purpose zoom, you actually want something that's very fast, very quick, especially in low light situations or action event photography. And so one big improvement that we have here now is a brand new autofocusing experience. This uses the Silky Swift voice coil motor. No, that is not the name of an adult star. Maybe it is, I don't know, but it's also the name of this brand new autofocusing system, and Nikon promises that it's going to be up to 5 times faster than the original lens. Now, the Nikon Z8 that we're using today has had recent firmware updates that really improved the autofocusing experience with subject detection, and what we're finding here now is a much faster, much quicker response time. So any issues that you might have with the original lens are going to be completely taken care of on this second version. So as you've probably already seen, there's some leaves passing by here in the frame. We're getting some fall colors going on. We're getting into autumn. We only get like 2 weeks before the wind takes care of everything and it all looks dead. So this is probably the last colorful flower kind of stuff we're gonna see in our episodes here. Might as well get some macro shots while we have the opportunity. And this is actually a really versatile lens to do that. So this is gonna give us 0.32 magnification, roughly 1 to 3 life-size reproduction. Not a macro lens by any stretch, but still very good for some close focusing shots. As you can see here, we got some bees and stuff on these colorful flowers. We can get good detail, good sharpness up close. I think if you're shooting weddings or something, this would also be nice for any sort of jewelry or ring shots, table centers, you know, name cards, that kind of stuff. You could do a really good job. But, you know, for all this color that I'm getting, that bokeh is actually really nice and soft and smooth as well. Those out of focus backgrounds just kind of blend into soft colors. So I'm actually really liking the results for close up, and I appreciate that versatility. So we just popped down to Stephen Avenue here in downtown Calgary, and I popped into Annabelle's Kitchen, lovely little restaurant there, and they let me shoot some of the bokeh tests because they got some cool lights there. So let's take a look. As you can see here, shooting wide open at f2.8, we get a nice cat's eye effect in the corner, clean bokeh, like no onion rings, bit of a soap bubble effect, but nothing crazy. And when we stop down the lens, we get nice round highlights as well. And this is important because the original lens did actually have fairly polygonal highlights when you stop down. This is giving us that more modern, clean, round look. They upgraded from 9 blades to an 11-bladed rounded aperture look, and it certainly shows in the specular highlights. But all this just gives a soft bokeh, like shallow depth of field. You're gonna get nice transitions from in-focus to out of focus. So they've obviously put a lot of work into the bokeh on this lens. Distinct shadows on the ground, that means we got direct sunlight right on us, and that means it's time for a flare test. The original 24-70 actually did a great job here, but I'm happy to see that we've got the exact same results, if not better. I mean, there's basically like no flare on this lens. I mean, you can see here, shooting wide open, there's not really a loss of contrast, but even ghosting is quite minimal. And we stop the lens down, it gets a little bit more distinct, but it's tiny to begin with. And these excellent results make sense because Nikon's thrown like every coating possible on here. We got nano crystal coating, we got mesoamorphous coatings, we got RNAO coatings, all sorts of coatings. But regardless, basically what's happening is light is coming to these front elements and in a very well-behaved way is just getting absorbed right into it with minimal refraction. So this is doing a really good job. As well, there's actually less glass elements in this new version than in the old version. So they're using more advanced glass, but less of it. And regardless, we're getting fantastic flare results here. So it's clear that Nikon's making a big push into the video world, especially with new cameras like the Nikon ZR, you know, their acquisition of Red. And actually, when we did our Nikon ZR review, I used this 24-70 lens while I was shooting Jordan talking about the camera, and it was actually a dream to use. This checks a lot of boxes. I mean, first off, as we talked about, it's lightweight, it's rugged, and internally zooming. Now, there's no manual focus clutch or anything on this, but the manual focus response is still nice and smooth, and you can set this up for linear focusing. But also beyond that, this thing doesn't really breathe at all, which is to say, as I focus from near to far and back again, my field of view doesn't change. You can see here at 70 millimeters, it's almost perfect. There's basically no breathing. And even at 24 millimeters, the only breathing we'll see is if we go into the extreme close-up ranges. At the ranges you're normally going to use, effectively no breathing. So this lens is absolutely fantastic for video work. So now we're going to talk about sharpness, and man, this is interesting because that first version 24-70 was a sharp lens. I mean, we weren't really doing test charts back then, but like we shot with it extensively. It's very good, contrasty, detailed, regardless of what range you're shooting at, and that's why it was such a great first attempt for Nikon making this Z mount lens. Now that we've got this second version, well, it's got to be at least as good, and I think it is. I mean, this is a fantastically sharp lens as well. When we look at the center here, first off, let's do 70 millimeters. Wide open at f2.8, tons of detail. I mean, there's maybe like a slight improvement in contrast when you go to f5.6, but it's minor. This lens is fantastic wide open at f2.8, and even the corners I was impressed. As you can see here, there's some vignetting that's easy to fix, but f2.8, sharp detail. Stopping down to 5.6 just improves that, but we're basically getting great results across the board. And then I was impressed to see that it's the same story at 24 millimeters. So again, basically the same. Detail in the center at 2.8, fantastic. The slightest noticeable improvement as we stop the lens down to 5.6, and the corners also held up really well. 24 mil at f2.8, those corners are sharp, and they only get slightly better when you go to 5.6. So we get an equally, if not better, legendary sharpness out of this second version, 24-70 2.8. So I've chosen a super busy background here, this intersection. I like to challenge Jordan. I like to give him like the hardest time possible, challenge his audio mastery and his depth of field and dynamic range, and he's got a really grumpy face right now. But I think this is a good time to do our wrap up on this lens, and I think this is gonna be an easy one. Like, the legend continues, just like the old Kung Fu show, except this is even better than that, because that show sucked. Dude.
No, keep it.
So anyways, unlike that show, no, this legend does continue. I mean, this is a fantastic lens. One of the nicest 24-70 f2.8 lenses I've ever used. I mean, I like carrying it around. It's lightweight, it's fairly compact. Videographers will love it. It's sharp as hell. It has no real optical problems, no breathing. I mean, it's a fantastic experience, but you're going to pay for it. And I mean, that's the key. This is an expensive lens, and I can't tell you if it's worth it to you or not. That's really gonna depend on who you are and what you need it for. But what I can tell you is at least you have other options. I mean, first off, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, you can check out KH.com. There's plenty of used first version lenses, especially after this hits the market. There'll probably be even more, and that might be a really good way to spend your money. And if you wanna save even more money, you could look at the excellent Tamron 20-75 version 2. That's even better than the Nikon 20-75 2.8. That's an awesome lens as well. It saves you a ton of money. You've got a lot of choices across a lot of price ranges. Still, it does not take away from the fact that Nikon has achieved something really special here with this 24-70 f2.8. And if you're looking for the best possible general purpose lens for Nikon Z mount, this is the one to look at. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this look into the new 24-70 f2.8 version 2. Leave your comments below as always. We appreciate those. Listen to the PetaPixel podcast. So we have a lot of fun there. I think it lets you see a different part of our personalities and cover things like the news and what's going on in the photographic world. I think you'd really like it. And it's on this exact same channel, or you can listen to it on all your favorite podcasting apps. As well, do consider getting a PetaPixel.com membership. This really helps us to support our channel, make interesting projects possible, and just go outside of our lens and gear reviews and get into some really interesting documentary work. So definitely consider that. $3 a month, $30 a year. It's not a big expense, and you get cash back at the Moment store. You get discounts on KH.com. You get discounts on our PetaPixel merch store. You can peruse the website ads free, and you get access to our sample galleries, RAWs and JPEGs for you to download and take a look at. You definitely don't want to miss that. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon with more on PetaPixel.